Hello everyone, Namaskar. My name is Tilak Dutta and I am presently located in the northern Black Forest region of Germany. I have made this video for all those who are concerned about a series of events which have impacted India in the recent past. Going back to the demonetization phase, gradually we come to the recent citizenship NRC agitations, followed quickly by the COVID pandemic, which is running parallel to the bloodshed on the border with China. These are one set of issues. I shall also be speaking about a person who lived in India till about 35 years ago and predicted this phase in our history and also left hints about how we can go through this phase. The same person claimed to have walked the forests in Germany over 8 decades ago, forests like these. And he spoke of his presence in the battlefields of Southeast Asia and of his life in a concentration camp in a gulag in Siberia. So these are two separate uh, issues or topics, and there is a deep link between the two. I will request for your patience to watch these videos with an open mind. Thank you so much for your time. Bye bye. To continue from where I left, I wrote a book over the last 7 years, which was released just before the COVID 19 outbreak happened. The citizenship agitations, the farmers' protests, a virus pandemic from China, the clash at Galwan, Pakistan mobilizing in Gilgit in tandem with China, these are all current headlines. Now, all these were already mentioned in my novel as early as 2014. Now, presently, these details are playing out in real life, often in the same sequence, which fact has both humbled, but even more so, this has astounded me. Please take a look at a few relevant screenshots from the book. In a sense, much of this fact file goes back to the years 1988 1989, to the first draft of my film screenplay titled Quest. This is what it looks like. In this screenplay Quest, an expedition called Trans Himalaya, consisting of scientists and experts from 9 nations, gets stranded in the Himalayas against the backdrop of India getting pulled into a sudden war. Now, the takeoff point in this screenplay is a virus pandemic from China, first written in 1988-89. In my current book, the same backdrop from Quest becomes the leading subject in the foreground. Though the novel itself is not about war as such, it ends with a cathartic border war involving India. The book is titled A Tryst with Mahakaal, the ghost who never died. This is what the book looks like. Well, this book shares almost the same timeline as the screenplay Quest. Couple of points to note. The COVID pandemic is not the theme of this book. The global virus from China, which finds a couple of mentions in my book, is a mutated one, which is still to happen. Secondly, though COVID 19 is seen as a wake up call for change, I believe there will be no course correction. Most of mankind will go back to their ways as existed before this pandemic struck. We are all tied to habits. In this situation, if by sharing a few thoughts, I am able to provide something useful to even a single person, I will feel at peace. I had stayed away from any exposure on the social media, preferring to remain in anonymity. I am breaking my own rules now. Why? Because I have a deep sense of foreboding that future events could continue to lead up to what I have already depicted in my book as a coming Holocaust. But why Holocaust? The way humanity has lived life, I think, by intent, especially by default, is completely out of sync with responsible living on planet Earth. This book dramatizes why a major and violent correction, such as war, is the inevitable result of the reckless growth based template which governs modern human thinking, which could happen even faster than what I have depicted in the book. So, in this situation, what is the way ahead for civilians? The army, the defense, they are doing a great job on the front. But what about us, all of us here? I have mentioned a few options to act responsibly in such a situation. Many of these options are inspired by a man who has this moniker, Mahakaal. Mahakaal. This was someone who spoke from behind a curtain for almost 3 decades, who was almost never seen by anyone. Mahakal spoke of a coming war which would be more devastating than anything in the last 700 years, nothing that mankind has experienced. As a civilian writing about such a modern war, it took me 10 months, or a little more than that, just to write the 2.5 chapters of war in my book out of 59. And more than half the matter in my original drafts for the war sequences had to be left out due to space considerations. So far, all the appreciation received by this book from top notch defense personnel and others has served as some sort of a vindication, as well as, I think, also for Mahakal's prophecies about such a war. So, who is this Mahakal? Some of you will be aware that our legendary leader, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, had been officially declared dead in a plane crash in Taipei in 1945 during World War II. Well, there is a compelling theory that he never died, that he supposedly re entered India as an ascetic or sannyasi in the early 1950s and lived an undercover life for reasons unknown. This man was tagged by the media as one Gumnami Baba, which means the nameless saint. And he was addressed as Bhagwanji by most of his local followers. Please note, till date, no government, including the present one, has dared to disclose the intelligence files about his real identity. We still don't know who he is officially. However, for me, speaking for myself, Bhagwanji or Mahakal is a new and fresh entity. He himself kept repeating that he was completely transformed as a person, being a fakir or sannyasi. He had burnt his past, he was dead to his past. So, whosoever he was, for me, he held out the hope for a saner way of life which was inseparable from nature. I'll repeat that for emphasis. Mahakal held out the hope for a saner way of life which was inseparable from nature. So, my book is about this man, Mahakal's impact on two individuals and how these two gear up for an impending war, which is both internal and external. The book is extensively researched for almost a decade and is founded on transcripts of Bhagwanji's secret talks, which were transcribed between 1962 and 1985 by a select band of followers. I have also relied on my own exclusive interviews with a few witnesses to this person's activities. I must mention a few clarifications. This fakir saint had several names by which he was addressed. For the purposes of this book, Mahakaal, Anam Sant, that means Sant Ji, Bhagwanji, Gumnami Baba, all refer to the same person or his doubles. These names are interchangeable. And yes, this man had body doubles for security reasons. I am not a Subhash Bose acolyte or research scholar or Netaji. My focus is solely on the mysterious personality Bhagwanji Aka Mahakal, who spoke from behind a curtain for 3 decades. Please note that this person had views which were often at great variance with what Subhash Bose stood for pre 1945. Mahakal had left clear hints about a potential war which would strike India and how to prepare for such a calamity. These hints were often in coded language. I would like to emphasize that he not only saw what was coming, but interestingly, he spoke as a direct participant and enforcer of events. Translated, it would mean that if a war happened today, he would somewhere be either a participant or enforcer of events, which makes the whole thing extremely intriguing. Now, with so many professional soldiers, experts, top personnel debating and discussing the border clashes with China, where does some faraway, unknown, phantom like figure of Mahakal stand? What about ahimsa, non-violence, Gandhigiri, which all Indian leading politicians of every hue chant and promote worldwide? Where does this stand? If China is the new imperialist mercantile nation being driven by their own celestial vision of world dominance, then what about the developed nations who pursued their own narrow me first agendas all these years? Are not all these nations, including India in some way, complicit in bringing things to this pass? We've all dealt with China, we've fed her, we've had our factories in their background. So, aren't we all part of the same picture and not separate? These issues are touched upon. The book says, since no one wants to truly course correct, war is inevitable. Public awareness is almost zero about the fact that Mahakal or Bhagwanji, irrespective of whether he was Subhash Chandra Bose, also had some kind of a roadmap for India. He spoke of a consequential existence. So, are the present events around us linked to Mahakal's words in any way? Are they detailed by me out of context in this book? Or is there substance in the narrative which addresses the present situation in India? The two main characters in the book who are impacted by Mahakal, they debate, discuss, and live out these issues in a fast moving, dramatic format. I shall attempt to outline some of these aspects in a couple of videos more before I return to my good old anonymity. A tryst with Mahakal is about now, our times, our concerns, our geopolitics, the churning which we all experience, and the prophetic words of this man from behind a veil. Thank you for your attention. Till next time, Namaskar.